Hey, what's up YouTubers, Lee John Blackmore here at Super Easy Guitar. So this week I want to talk about 5 things that beginners avoid. Obviously I've been teaching for quite a long time and I've had a vast range of students from about 6 years old up to, I don't know, 80 plus years old, would you believe? You're never too young or you're never too old to learn an instrument. You're never too old or too young to learn anything. And I think that is actually one of the keys in life, in being happy, in my opinion. If you keep pushing yourself, keep learning, you feel like you're better. You feel like you're better in yourself. You feel like you're improving. But anyway, 5 things that beginners tend to avoid. Okay? Number 1, and this, I was going to leave this until the end, but it's so important to me personally. As a musician, I think as a beginner, you should definitely strive towards doing it. And that is learning a song from start to finish. It doesn't matter how complicated or how basic the song is. And look, guys, don't get me wrong. It's difficult. I'm not talking about, some super piece by Bach, some mega complicated piece of work. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about something basic. It could be Happy Birthday. I've done a lesson on it. Check it out if you don't know it already. But it could just be 3 chords. Especially if you're a singer or want to be a singer and guitar player, or you want to be a singer-songwriter, or you just want to do it for fun. It's one of the vital things of learning guitar because it teaches you section by section to continue to play. Whereas, the way I learned is probably like most people, just by learning riffs, you learn riff after riff after riff, which is good. It's really healthy. But at the same time, get those songs together. Let that be something that, works in the back of your mind. What songs do I really love? And make sure you love it, because you won't mind picking up the guitar every day. And it might seem like a long way away. But believe me, it comes quicker than you realize. At least have that goal, have that approach that you're going to have a song that you're going to learn from start to finish. Take my advice and keep it simple in the beginning. So number 2, the second thing that learners tend to avoid. Now, these aren't in any particular order, and I am generalizing. I'm just going from some of my experience. Not everyone falls into this category, but when you're a beginner, I'm talking about people that have just picked up a guitar, just gone out and bought their first guitar or whatnot, and they tend to learn the whole, which is great, all this kind of stuff, right? Which is cool. But I've also met people that have been playing that stuff for years, and they avoid to learn chords. Chords, they're the foundation of any guitar player. And they might seem daunting and complicated at first, but believe me, they don't have to be, and they will rock your world. They'll change your world. Now, yes, okay, I'm talking about basic open chords that everyone should learn, everyone should know, because they just make playing a lot more fun. But the number 1 thing that people come to me about all the time is the dreaded bar chord. So you've been playing guitar a while, you've been playing open chords, and you see a bar chord in there and you're like, oh, I don't like that song anymore. Is there anything I can do? People always message me and say, this song's got a bar chord in, what can I do? And the number 1 thing I always say is, instead of playing a bar chord, play a power chord. It doesn't sound as good, I know. Well, in some aspects it does. It sounds better. Depending on what you're doing. But then I meet people that are also really struggle with power chords. And yes, I understand. And a lot of people say, I can't stretch my fingers and this kind of thing. And you buy all these crazy contraptions that don't work, by the way. Just play guitar. That's the best resolution. Just practice. Practice thoughtfully, though, okay? Just not like, oh, I can't do it. Oh, okay. You know what I'm getting at here, right? The thing about power chords or bar chords, they change the position of your hand, and a lot of people don't realize it's a lot to do with the thumb. So when we're playing open chords, you might see the thumb. You might have been told to put the thumb behind there. So everything rings out. So your fingers are going directly down onto the fretboard. They're not touching on any of the other strings. However, you might see some players, you might see me do this a lot. And you can see the thumb up here all the time. And you're like, what's going on there? Well, as you progress on guitar, you can just like hang, you can, you know, loosely grip the guitar here, and you can kind of use the thumb in all different manner of ways. But whenever you see me playing bar chords, I can't physically leave my thumb there when I'm playing bar chords. Well, actually, I just realized I can, but it's not that comfortable. Okay, so what we tend to do is move our hand position. So it's as simple as moving the thumb and making sure, you know, you're squeezing not on the tip of your thumb, not pushing your thumb into the bending your thumb into the back of the neck. It's kind of behind the knuckle where the power is, and you want to have that squeeze between your first finger and thumb. That's where the pressure is, in there. Okay, and that's all we're doing. We're just putting the pinch between the fretboard. And everyone, you know, I see people doing this and reaching underneath. You don't need to do that. You really don't need to do that. And the fingers don't have to be perfectly straight in line with the fretboard either. Everyone's hands are different. You know, big hands, small hands. I've heard all the stories, all the excuses, you know. Everyone's hands are different. Even mine, they're always going to look different. You see how this one angles in a strange way? You know, it's not straight like this. That feels really uncomfortable. But as long as I'm covering those strings, it's okay. All right? So it might look like they're all crooked and wonky, but they're hitting the correct string. So it's about finding your own way, how you can get your fingers around these things. Don't avoid it, because you're missing out on so much. And at first you're going to end up with this, right? That's how it starts. That's completely normal. Everyone goes through the same pain. It took me months to get these bar chords down. Months of playing and pushing. I had no teacher. It was just like, that's what people are doing. I must be doing something wrong. I had to figure it out. You will figure it out. Getting a good teacher, that's a great start. You can't learn everything offline. It's not set up for everyone. Sit in a room with someone that can show you how to do it. Sitting and having the correct posture. I don't have the best posture in the world, but sitting and getting good posture is also a good start. If you're sat on a sofa like this, you know, you get the idea, right? It's not going to be great. So the third thing beginners tend to avoid doing, and that is learning the notes, learning any notes on the guitar. Now, the reason I say don't avoid learning notes is not because I'm crazy about theory or anything. Theory is very handy, especially, you know, when you're leveling up in music. My theory isn't amazing. That's just probably because of me. In certain aspects of things, don't interest me that much. But I use it to a degree, whereas when I need to, you know. So you don't have to know everything, all right? You just have to, or you don't have to, but it helps if you learn some of the basics. For example, the open strings. It's one of the first things I talk about in my basic videos when you're starting off. Learn those open string names, okay? Off by heart, you know, every bad girl deserves an egg, or whatever you want to, you know, Eddie 8 Dynamite, whatever you want to say to help you remember these open string names. But the other thing is, just take the bottom E string or the top E string and learn the names of the notes from the open position, E, F, F sharp, G, and so on until you get to the 12th fret. And you'll realize at the 12th fret, that's where I got this double dot here. Why is it important? I'll explain briefly. Because if you're sat in a room with another musician, or you're trying to work stuff out by ear, and you listen to a record and you're like, da 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 da, oh, that's the note there, you work it out. Well, what is that note? if you know that note is G on the 3rd fret, you can go, well, maybe they're playing a G, or you know, if it da 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 da, or it's that note there. But what is that note? And if you learn it, you'll know it's D. So you got your G and your D, and D, or in bar chords, or there's tons of different ways you can do this stuff. Okay, so it's important to try and learn the notes. Now, I've done a lesson on, you know, how to learn all the notes on the fretboard, and you know, as using a reference. So all you have to do is learn one string, and then you can reference off it, and you can work out the entire fretboard like that. And it's super simple, trust me. So the 4th thing beginners tend to avoid, and that is playing with a guitar pick. No, that's not going to focus, is it? No. So I think it's just as important to play with fingers as it is with a guitar pick. I tend to teach both. When I'm teaching, I tend to say to people, it's really good to be able to play with a guitar pick, especially when you want to pick out notes. It's just as easy. It's just as easy with fingers, but you see, you get a different attack. You see, it sounds different, right? There's with fingers. There's with the pick. So then we got, and then fingers. Fingers, pick. Fingers. Okay, so it's just as important to use both. But when it comes to picking, and I've done a lesson on this recently, with a bit of blues picking, and it's super simple. With a guitar pick, and it just opens up a new realm to making everything sound different. Don't avoid the guitar pick, especially if you want to play metal. You know, I'm just making this up, obviously, but to give you an idea, if you want to do that kind of stuff, it's easier with a guitar pick. And I know it might feel weird in the beginning holding this piece of plastic between your fingers, but you'll get used to it sooner than you think. So the 5th and final thing, I believe, beginners tend to avoid, but definitely shouldn't, and that's scales. Now, when you hear the word scales, people tend to think, this kind of thing. I'm not talking about that. I never learned stuff like that when I was a kid. You know, when I was first picking up the guitar, it didn't make any sense to me. Like, why would you learn this stuff? But as you get more into music, you realize it's just kind of a foundation to open up tons and tons of fun stuff. And you can't think of it, well, I'm just talking about one scale in particular, okay? And that's the minor pentatonic scale. That might mean nothing to you right now if you're a beginner, but if you've ever heard this, that little riff at the end, that's part of the minor pentatonic scale. Okay, and that's across all 6 strings. So it's kind of given you the opportunity to build on these skills and work out where the strings are and how they sound, and pick across them, whether using fingers or guitar pick. Okay, and you can even play them on one string and they can still sound super creative, or across multiple strings, you know. So don't avoid certainly the minor pentatonic scale, because it's so much fun. And even if you're just in a simple position like A minor, so your first note, remember, learn the notes, 5th fret, your first note there is going to be A. I've done a lesson on it if you're not sure how to do it, but practice it and use it, because then all those cool things you hear people doing, they're all all based around this minor pentatonic, whether you're listening to Stevie Ray Vaughan, Jimi Hendrix, even a lot of metal you hear today. So there you have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this week's lesson. Please don't forget, hit that subscribe button if you'd like to receive my weekly updates. And please remember, I don't get paid for a lot of these videos due to copyright, especially when I'm doing covers. Therefore, I've set up a PayPal donation button over on my website, or I've got some of these t-shirts for sale. Check them out over there. Any loose change you have goes a long way, guys, and I much appreciate it. And thank you to everyone that donates on a regular basis. It's because of you guys that helps me continue to do these lessons. If you'd like to send me a request for any future songs you'd like to learn or anything in particular, hit me up over on Instagram, and I'll see you again the same time next week. Enjoy.